John Wilkes Booth, actor turned President Lincoln's assassin. Many know John Wilkes Booth as the American stage actor who assassinated United States President Abraham Lincoln and triggered one of the biggest manhunts in U.S. history. Born on May 10, 1838, Booth's parents were the acclaimed British Shakespearean actor Junius Brutus Booth and his partner, Mary Ann Holmes. He was the 9th child among 10 siblings and got his name from the English radical politician John Wilkes, a distant relative. In his early years, Booth was athletic and popular, honing skills in horsemanship and fencing. His educational journey included attending Bel Air Academy, where despite intelligence, he showed little interest in seizing the educational opportunities presented to him, as per the headmaster's observations. Booth furthered his education at St. Timothy's Hall, an Episcopal military academy located in Catonsville, Maryland. Here, students adhered to a disciplined routine, wearing military uniforms and participating in daily formation drills. However, Booth left school at 14 following his father's demise. At 16, Booth found himself drawn to both the world of theater and the realm of politics. He engaged actively in political activities. Booth's aspirations aligned with those of his father and actor brothers, Edwin and Junius Brutus Jr. At 17, Booth marked his debut on the stage on August 14, 1855, portraying the Earl of Richmond and Richard III at Baltimore's Charles Street Theater. Reviews of his performance were diverse. While some critics hailed him as the handsomest man in America and a natural genius with an astonishing memory, others held more nuanced opinions about his acting abilities. As the 1850s drew to a close, Booth was already becoming wealthy as an actor, earning a huge amount every year. He eventually engaged in businesses and investments. Booth vehemently opposed the abolitionist movement aiming to eradicate slavery in the United States. His stance led him to attend the execution of abolitionist leader John Brown on December 2, 1859. Following Lincoln's election as president on November 6, 1860, Booth penned an extensive speech, seemingly never delivered. The speech condemned Northern abolitionism while staunchly expressing his support for the South and the institution of slavery. As the Civil War erupted on April 12, 1861, Booth found himself performing in Albany, New York. Known for his outspoken support of the South's secession, he publicly praised it as heroic. His endorsement stirred such outrage among residents that they demanded his removal from the stage, accusing him of making treasonous statements. Meanwhile, in Albany, theater critics showed Booth a warmer reception, offering him glowing reviews. Amid the tumultuous Civil War of 1862, Booth predominantly performed in Union and border states as the conflict tore through the divided nation. From January 1863, he graced the Boston Museum with a series of plays, embodying roles like the villainous Duke Pescara and the Apostate, garnering applause from both audiences and critics alike. As the 1864 presidential election approached, the Confederacy saw diminishing prospects for victory while the tide of war increasingly favored the North. Booth harbored intense resentment toward President Lincoln as the figure he held responsible for the war and the South's tribulations. Despite vowing to his mother at the war's onset that he wouldn't enlist as a soldier, Booth grappled with a growing sense of dissatisfaction for not actively supporting the South. In a letter to his mother, he confessed, "I have started to see myself as a coward and have grown to disdain my own existence." Gradually, Booth formulated a plan to abduct Lincoln from his summer retreat at the old soldier's home. Once in Confederate custody, Booth envisioned a scenario where Lincoln could be exchanged for Confederate Army prisoners of war detained in northern prisons. He believed this could potentially prompt an end to the war by fostering anti-war sentiment in the North or compelling the Union to acknowledge the legitimacy of the Confederate government. Booth attended Lincoln's second inauguration on March 4th as the guest of his secret fiancée Lucy Hale. There was no attempt on Lincoln's life during the event, but later, Booth mentioned the excellent chance to kill the president if I had wished. On March 17th, Booth discovered that Lincoln would attend a performance of the play Still Waters Run Deep at a hospital near the soldier's home. Anticipating this opportunity, he gathered his team. However, the president didn't arrive as expected. Booth then learned of Lincoln's last-minute change of plans, opting to attend a reception at the National Hotel in Washington, where Booth himself was staying. On April 11, 1865, Lincoln expressed his support for granting suffrage to former slaves. Booth's former associate recounted witnessing the president's speech alongside Booth, who said, "That means citizenship. Now, by God, I'll put him through. That is the last speech he will ever make." On the morning of Good Friday, April 14, 1865, Booth visited Ford's Theater to collect his mail. While there, he was informed that President and Mrs. Lincoln, among others, would attend the play Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater that evening. Booth swiftly began formulating plans for the assassination. In the theater, around 10:14 p.m., as the play unfolded, he quietly slipped into Lincoln's box and fatally shot the president in the back of the head using a .41 caliber Derringer pistol. His escape was nearly stopped by Major Henry Rathbone, who was present in the box with Mary Todd Lincoln. After the attack, Booth leaped from the president's box onto the stage, brandishing a knife and shouting, "Sic semper tyrannis," Latin for "thus always to tyrants," a phrase linked to Brutus during Caesar's assassination. Some accounts mention that Booth also exclaimed, "I have done it, the South is avenged." Following the assassination, Booth leaped from the president's box, sustaining a leg injury upon landing on the stage. Undeterred by the fracture, he swiftly fled the theater through a side exit. Outside, he mounted a horse and departed alongside accomplice David Harold, riding throughout the night until reaching Dr. Samuel Mudd's house in southern Maryland around 4 a.m. Mudd tended to Booth's injured leg and offered them shelter, unaware that Booth had killed the president. The next morning, upon reading the news, Mudd realized he harbored a fugitive but chose not to report them. Despite Mudd's eventual eviction of Booth and Harold, he refrained from notifying authorities. Meanwhile, a massive search involving over 1,000 Union soldiers was underway, offering a substantial $100,000 bounty for the capture of Booth, Harold, and another accomplice. Booth and Harold traveled south on horseback, finding refuge for 4 days within Zacchaeus Swamp. Harold's familiarity with the area allowed them to hide effectively in a dense pine thicket. Later, disguised as wounded Confederate soldiers heading home from the war, Booth and Harold sought refuge in a tobacco barn on Richard Garrett's Virginia farm. A tip-off led Union troops to the farm in the early hours of April 26th, where they found the pair asleep inside the barn. Harold surrendered, but Booth refused and prepared to resist. As the troops set fire to the barn, Booth emerged. Ignoring demands to surrender, he was shot in the neck by Union soldier Boston Corbin. Booth died a few hours later on the Garrett family's porch. His body was hurriedly taken to Washington, D.C., and secretly interred in the old penitentiary, where Harold and 3 other conspirators were later executed. For years later, President Andrew Johnson returned Booth's remains to his family. Today, John Wilkes Booth lies in an unmarked grave within the Booth family plot at Green Mount Cemetery in Baltimore, Maryland. John Wilkes Booth's life remains etched in infamy, a man whose actions irreversibly altered the course of history. His name became synonymous with one of the most tragic moments in American history, the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. Booth's deeds, born from fervent beliefs and seething resentment, left an indelible mark on the nation's consciousness. Despite his notoriety, Booth's story is a reminder of the complexities within individuals and the ripple effects of their actions. His legacy stands as a cautionary tale, illustrating the profound impact of personal convictions, the consequences of radicalism, and the enduring repercussions of violence. As time passes, Booth's memory serves as a somber reflection, prompting us to contemplate the depths of human conviction, the power of ideology, and the enduring scars left by those who choose paths of extremism and violence. His life, filled with tragedy and turmoil, invites us to reflect on the fragility of society and the profound consequences of individual choices on the collective fate of nations.
And with that, we have come to the end of our video. Please subscribe, like, and click that notification bell to be notified of our future episodes. This is Ben saying, see you next time.